Hi.
Morning, sir. Just let us know when we can begin with the webinar.
Hi, can you hear me? Hello?
Are we good to go, sir?
Yeah, can you hear me though? Are you able to hear me?
Sorry.
I can't.
Can we begin?
Yeah, only if you can hear me though, can you?
Sure.
Can you hear me clearly?
Sure.
Yes, sir.
I'm asking you, can you? I don't know who I'm speaking with. Is it Nakul? Can you hear me? Hello?
Good evening, sir. Yes, you are audible.
Okay, Anjali. You guys can start whenever you want to.
And Shreyanji.
Good evening and a warm welcome to all at 6th day of Rendezvous, country's biggest virtual conclave. When it comes to investing, nothing will pay off more than educating yourself. Do the necessary research and study before making any investment decisions. Keeping this in mind, today we have a very special guest with us, a genius with hands-on experience in analyzing the markets in depth, Mr. Nikhil Kamath, youngest billionaire featured in Forbes India Rich List 2020. He started equity trading at age of 17, such a young age, becoming an inspiration for all of us. He is the co-founder and CIO of India's first online brokerage firm, Zerodha, and True Beacon, an asset management company. Zerodha, doubling the clients in every 2 years, who generated more than 15 lakh revenue daily through their trades, is the winner of the Economics Times Startup of the Year 2020. Welcome, sir. It is such an honor to have you. All of us are completely excited to hear from you about your future investing in India. So over to you, sir, to take the session forward.
Hi, thank you for the introduction. I think for everybody's benefit, let's keep this session very interactive. So maybe we can just do a Q&A round versus me giving you any kind of a monologue per se. So it would be great if you could open it up to everybody and, we could just have a conversation. Let people ask questions and I'd be happy to speak about what they want to hear. Does that work? Were you able to catch that, Anjali? I still can't make out if...
Apologies, sir, but I think the audience needs you to be a little louder. Your voice is not clearly audible.
Okay, hang on. Let me try. Can you hear me though?
It's same from my side also, sir. It's a little low. The voice is a little low.
Is it better now? Is it better now?
It's the same, sir.
Any better now?
Yes, sir, it's better.
Okay. I've turned up my volume to as much as I can. So hopefully this is better.
Absolutely fine, sir.
Okay, fine. So what I was saying earlier is let's keep the session very interactive, and let's just open it up. And from the very beginning, you guys can tell me what you would like me to speak about, and then I can speak about that. So go ahead and open it up and let people ask any question that they might have or what topic they would like me to speak about.
Sir, we would like to know the future investments in India, like what would be good future investments after the pandemic.
Well, if you're talking about stock markets, I think IT and pharma have done well in the recent past. And it looks like they might continue to do well for the significant future. But outside of that, I think anything which is tech first is a online platform kind of thing is probably going to find a wider audience by virtue of how easily it can be discovered in a primarily online world. Yeah.
So, sir, what do you think about an investor should invest in as a beginner in 2020?
Thank you. Let me know what you want, okay? I'll call you. Bye. Sorry. In 2020, I would say, see, the thing is, the innovative companies in India are not really available on the stock markets because they raise their funding from the private sector, be it through a VC or a PE or any kind of private placement that one might use to raise capital. So the opportunities in the stock market are very traditional in a way, barring maybe Reliance and a bunch of other companies in the sectors that have been doing well in the last few months. There are not many opportunities in this Indian stock market to bet on raw innovation in a way. So, if you were to ask me what sectors will do well in 2020 outside of, say, the really popular names that you guys would have heard of, like Reliance and Infosys and TCS and HCL, there's not much else that I can think of. I'm sorry about this line. I can hear you like on and off, so I'm catching bits and parts of your question. I hope you guys can hear me though.
So your voice is very low.
Even now, is it? Is it any better now?
Now it is better.
Okay.
Nikhil sir, am I audible enough?
You are. I can hear you. Yes.
Pleasant evening, sir. It's been a tough evening, I guess. Joining in, leaving the meeting again and again.
Yeah. So, you know what? Keep firing questions and what you would like me to talk about. Don't leave a lag in between. And let's speak about whatever you guys might want to talk about.
Absolutely. So, starting off with your journey as an entrepreneur, the way you quit proper elementary conventional education since you were 16-year-old. So, what really motivated you into taking that bold move of quitting the conventional system and actually pursuing your own passion, Nikhil sir,
Yeah.
at the
So,
very beginning?
sure. So when I quit education while I was really young, I think the intention of that was to build a career playing a sport, which was chess back then. When things did not work out, I had lost a couple of years of formal schooling. And I thought rather than playing catch up with my classmates of the day, I should try and start a vocation or a job. And I did that for many years. tried a bunch of different things. It was very organic, I have to say. And it kind of led naturally into the path of the stock markets. And ever since then, much like anybody who's a stock trader and is just beginning, there are many ups and downs and learning experiences which kind of help you evolve into becoming a more disciplined, rational trader.
So looking at what do you call laying focus at your journey as an entrepreneur, the way you spoke that you had a lot of options and then you stumbled upon stock market. So what were the other contemporaries available in front of you apart from chess? Were there any other inclination? Was there anything else you were fond of?
Uh, other things I was fond of, I did enjoy learning about new things. I think I've always been a fairly curious person, and I spend time trying to explore and read about different things and figuring out what might pique my interest and what might not. So I've always, I think, I've maintained that level of curiosity in a way, and that might have helped try a bunch of different things and help me figure out what I actually like very early in life.
So I make out that playing a lot of chess has been has played a very key role in developing your cognitive abilities of being able to focus on things. So playing chess, reading a lot of books. So are all of these prerequisites for building a potential thoughtful entrepreneur, sir?
Uh, I wouldn't say required prerequisite or anything like that. I think everybody has their own path. Everybody will have a different thing that works for them. In my path, I got lucky many times over to have stumbled across a whole host of things. Somebody else might be completely different and a different thing might work for them. But to inculcate a level of curiosity and to be able to question something without worrying if you sound smart or not, I think is important. Chess teaches you how uh, to be disciplined within a framework. So, chess is more about following a bunch of rules and being creative within a system versus doing absolutely anything you want. That correlates with many fields professionally. Trading is probably one of them, but it might help. But very hard to, point at one thing and say what helped and what did not, I would say.
So more or less, I was reading your article on aligned thinking, if I'm not mistaken. That
Mhm.
was very of the chess framework, all of that, which helped in fostering creativity. So moving on
Right.
with the very course of this discussion that we were planning on having, the future of investment in India. So, sir,
Mhm.
when you were when you began equity trading, you began venturing into the world of stock market. So, what were the first impressions that you have drawn from your initial experiences, sir, at the age of 17?
Uh, I would say the first. Can you repeat that question, please?
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, we are just curious of we have a lot of Robinhood investors venturing into the stock market these days. All of us have this real craze of trying to make a lot of money by investing at befitting places. So, what was your initial experience like when you were a 17-year-old featuring fresh into the stock market, trying to do whatever you can in the best of your capacities?
Well, when you're starting off, you generally, much like any other person who starts investing, do many things wrong. I think the basic mistakes anybody entering the stock market makes is stuff like trying to make too much money too quickly. If you're trying to enter the stock market, trying to double your money or make a 50% return, more often than not, you end up failing. One of the first lessons in the stock market, which experience taught me, much like it might have taught other people, is not to leverage, not to trade on borrowed money, having stop losses in place, and to come to the understanding that outside of what you have learned about the market in terms of trading philosophy and psychology, it's very important to kind of respect the market and have the understanding that nobody can really call what might or will happen tomorrow, and kind of fine tune your own personal portfolio to be able to cope with any kind of event or spike in volatility that might happen in either direction. And I think focusing on that helps a lot.
So I infer from a lot of articles that you're a big fan of volatility, not in personal relations, but in markets. That's what I infer as a first, right, sir? So, speaking of volatility, so what was your initial portfolio decision like? How was it guided more importantly? What were the, what do you call, sources?
Yeah, so I mean, volatility is, it depends on what kind of a strategy you're running in the market. If you're a vanilla blue chip, large cap fund or a large cap portfolio manager, I think volatility is detrimental in many ways. But if you run a long short book, which I typically do amongst many portfolios that I manage, I think their volatility aids performance a lot, because when things become really volatile, people trade based on sentiment, and it kind of skews prices and prices to a point where you can take advantage of it by running a long short model. So hence, I like volatility in the markets. I think any other long short fund manager would second that in a way.
Absolutely, absolutely. So you also speak highly of psychology and philosophy going online with whatever a person learns in trading.
Uh-huh.
So how does a, what do you call, a potential investor strike a balance between proper alignment of reading and all the different fields? How does he go on to strike a balance?
Uh, how does a professional strike a balance between?
Yeah, between all the key decisions, between all the different fields that he wishes to garner knowledge from.
Yeah, I think when you attempt every new thing and you spend a certain amount of time learning about a new topic or a new industry, you will figure out what you're leaning towards a little more strongly. And I think very naturally you can figure out what is right for you or which industry is right for you.
Absolutely, absolutely. And then, speaking of your experiences as an investor, you went on to spotlight the very problem of brokerage in India, which prevents a lot of people from actually enjoying investing. So, speaking of you, so where did that idea, where did that actual eureka, what do you call, scene take place in your life that, yeah, I need to find Zerodha, I need to found Zerodha along with my brother?
I don't think it was anything like that. I think we were traders and we were paying a lot of fees and a lot of brokerage. We were looking for a way to alleviate that. And I think we kind of decided to take a broking license and start trading to save the cost we paid as traders using different brokers. That kind of naturally progressed into being a broker because our friends and family first piled on. And then the other traders that we knew were also using our platform, and it grew organically from there. So it was not a plan that was followed to the T, and we kind of we did not really know that it was going to turn out to be what it became many years down the line. It was again, something we got very lucky and stumbled upon.
So it's all a matter of chance. Zero, the all a matter of chance. True Beacon as well.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure along the way we have done a few things right, but to a large extent, many things are a factor of chance. Many things in business, especially in startups, what works and what does not is up for anybody's interpretation. But we definitely did get lucky to have started in 2009 when we had just seen a bear cycle across the world, and not many people were trying to innovate with broking. So the timing of that was definitely to our favor. And along the way, I'm sure many different things and at many different times we've gotten lucky as well.
So speaking of Zerodha, speaking of the startups you've co-founded, so what were the various impediments or the adversaries which hindered its or maybe played a what do you call pivotal role? What were the various impediments faced?
Could you say that again, please?
What were the various impediments or adversaries you faced while co-founding these a couple of startups? The hurdles, yeah.
Well, much like anyone else, I think the first one is a regulatory hurdle. You typically have a minimum amount of capital required when you're starting off, which you have to figure out how to organize. And beyond that, I think as a new product without too much of a marketing budget behind you, how to build trust in a user and how to kind of uh, how to attract the audience who will eventually use your platform is generally the biggest challenge. But if you have to talk about a challenge that kind of keeps repeating itself, I would say it's the regulatory one. So every now and then something changes, and as a player in the fintech ecosystem, you have to adapt and evolve to kind of factor in that new change that has happened. That is quite challenging.
And speaking of challenges, was there any mentor in your timeline as a startup co-founder? Was there any sort of person who was guiding you through?
Uh, no one person I can think of as a mentor. No, I don't think so. I think many people have had significant influence at many different points of time. I've obviously my family and a bunch of people. But if I had to fixate upon one person and tell you if there was one mentor, I would say no.
Any idols you draw inspiration from? Any what do you call people who really inspired you into building a startup?
Uh, I think there are many socially relevant entrepreneurs out there, not just in India but across the world. Each one of them is inspiring in their own way. I think from someone like Azim Premji locally, or even the Zoho guy now, the Sridhar Vembu guy. He's doing some incredible things with what he's doing in the village he has moved to in Tamil Nadu and stuff like that. So there are many people to get inspiration from, not necessarily based on how successful they have been or the scale of what they're doing, but by virtue of what they're attempting.
Yeah, exactly. So you told us that there were a lot of people who were accredited with your success. You will accredit a lot of them, including your family and a lot of other people. So what role did your family exactly play since the days you quit your education? Since the days you were prioritizing chess, which was absolutely unconventional.
Yeah, I mean, family, I would say, I would like say Nitin, who is my brother, has been my partner in everything I have done. And we've always done stuff together for many years now, like 16, 17 years of our lives. And to have a support system like him, or be it to have accommodating parents who allowed for me to pursue whatever path I wanted to, or talking about the colleagues that I have today and what makes our core team and what makes Zerodha work in a way. Everybody from Kailash to Karthik to Renu to Hanan, a whole bunch of people. I think these are the people who kind of make you uh, a strive a little more than you have already, and b they're the ones who also come together and make for an outcome to come true. So there are many people to thank along the way, and many people who have had significant roles in my journey, much like any other entrepreneur's journey. But to fixate upon one person and give you just one name alone, I think is a bit tough.
Absolutely, it's a bit tough. And speaking of your investing endeavors, you are currently the CIO of both the companies that you've co-founded. Any specific choosing that particular position, sir?
Oh,
Only
nothing.
because
I
you
don't.
invest.
I'm not really big on designations and what you call your role. What I do enjoy is investing. I think it's something that kind of wakes me up and gets me to go into work every day. Being able to weigh one asset class versus another and figuring out what to invest in, and watching some things work and some things fail. Hence, maybe that word. But that's just a passion outside of the monetary implications of it. I quite enjoy investing and trading on a very personal level.
On a very personal level, investment has become more of a hobby than a profession, right, sir?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So speaking of hobbies, then you keep investing regularly. You have developed a proclivity towards investing in right places. So, what would be your advice to all the people who are wishing to venture into the stock market? What will be your key advice to all those youngsters out there?
Uh, I think the ability to delay gratification in life is something which comes with a lot of experience and a lot of turmoil in a way. Don't enter the stock market trying to make a quick buck. Don't come in with say $100 and lever it up to making it $300 or $500 and trying to turn a quick profit, because that often does not work. And don't fall for the tipsters and the SMS vendors who keep sending, buy something at $50 and selling it at $100 and stuff like that. I mean, that stuff never works. Buy good quality companies, have a good sound researching method, have a system by virtue of which you invest, and look for reasonable amounts of return. If you're making 15% a year, we all fail to realize the power of compounding. At 15%, you're doubling your money every 5 years. So come in with realistic expectations and align your risk profile to that expectation. I think that's the biggest piece of advice I can give to somebody entering stock market.
It all comes down to alignment again.
Yeah, have reasonable expectations, I would say.
And I was actually reading of the people who invest in stock market. Back in USA, it's roughly close to 75% of the population who invest in the stock market. But in India, the numbers are quite low, maybe somewhere near 5% or even less. So, as a long-term approach, as a befitting solution, what can you think of to boost these numbers in the Indian subcontinent?
I think it's happening. The middle class is definitely growing in India. Uh, Financial inclusion is a very real thing today. Uh, we have a bunch of other factors at play, be it a falling interest rate cycles wherein people are less incentivized to leave their money at a bank because they're not even beating inflation now. Say a plateauing real estate sector, which is only yielding about 1 or 2% for residential real estate. It does not make so much sense to invest in, say, a bank FD or real estate. It doesn't make as much sense as it might have 10 years ago. So people are organically shifting towards the stock markets. And also, from the point of view of a pandemic, people really like the fact that it's a liquid investment where you can take out the money at any given point of time, which many other asset classes do not provide. So I think the shift is happening, albeit at a very gradual, slow pace. But like anything else, everything has an inflection point. I don't think. I think this might also have a hockey stick kind of a curve, where once we reach critical mass, suddenly everybody will be investing into the stock market.
So, do you expect any sort of intervention from the government authorities to boost the same?
Yeah, sure. I mean, reducing indirect taxes and normalizing things like, say, security transaction tax or anything which increases the impact a retail user might have to kind of pay each time he buys and sells equity will go a long way in getting new people on board. A lot that the government can do, a lot that they have done in the right direction, but a lot more is probably required to be done to bring a significant portion of our population into the market.
When do you think in the end will be realized of actually tapping all the masters of the Indian subcontinent? When do you think will we be equivalent to the Western contemporaries?
Completely different demographics in our country. I mean, if you were to look at the tax paying portion of our population, I would say only about 5% of us pay tax as a country. And in that 5%, the even smaller portion has exposure to the stock markets. So a lot has to change. I don't think it would be fair to compare us to the West, because it's not an apple to apple comparison. But in time, with urbanization, with the growing middle class, at some point, I think there will be a catch up, and the last leg of the catch up might be much faster than the first few legs of the catch up.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that was pretty much with maybe what you envision of the future of investment in India. And how do you expect technology plays a pivotal role in shaping up the future? How do you expect us to keep up with that? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's an inherent part of every business today. Uh, you might be from a traditional business like, I don't know, you might run a department store, but technology has kind of seeped into every fabric of our society. Technology is probably only going to get more important going forward. And as somebody who's in college today, how old are you guys?
2021.
Yeah, I would say immaterial of what what subject you might be specializing in. I'm not entirely sure if you guys are finance or business students or whatever individual stream you might have picked. But technology definitely is very important and will be required or will be helpful to you guys in your careers as as you progress. Maybe a lot more prevalent 3 4 years down the line while you're actually looking for a job than it is even today.
Absolutely. Now, coming back to your personal angle, to your personal perceptions of things, you've made a mockery of the school education system, as I, what do you call, loudly proclaim that Nikhil Kamath is a perfect embodiment of a person who, what do you call, dejects the conventional education system and rises up the ladder. So, what do you think the focus of kids should be on? Do you think the kids should prioritize exactly in their lives right now?
The thing is, there are many people who have kind of quit formal education, and a few of us have gotten lucky, sure, but I would not like to diss formal education in any way. To be very candid, I can tell you this, that one thing you will always regret in life is if you have not been to college or if you have dropped out very early, when you interact with people, you will come to realize that some of the most impactful memories of your life, some of the best friendships of your life, and some of the best time in your life, you would speak about is when you were in college. It might not look like it when you're in college, like right now, but I think later in life you start to reminisce and kind of think about these times. So having dropped out, you will always feel like you missed out on that. Was it worth it for me? Yeah, by virtue of how lucky I got. Is it the right decision for another person to make? Just going by the odds, probably not. So, formal education has its own uses. I would say more than many other things, the network you build while you're in college and the friends you make just in themselves, those two things would probably make it worth it. And life has many things, I mean, outside of building a business or making money or being successful, uh, to live a complete holistic life, I think there are many other aspects to it. Right? So I would, in fact, speak in favor of formal education than against it.
Also, since you were fancying the likes of taking up a vocational education right after you took a break for chess, apparently. So, right now, in the light of the recent events, NEP, the new education policy, brings out something of a similar, what do you call, a similar option. So, what do you have to
Mhm.
say? Does that make things easy?
Uh, I think to pick a vocation is very important. The new education policy aside, there is a big gap between what we are taught in college, our education syllabus and the system, versus what is actually required and what makes you better at any job that you might pick or a business that you might start after college. I think a, a part time vocation or a job or hands on experience that you might gain will go a long way in helping you and aiding you once you actually start off working full time. I would say yeah, that is, it plays a big part and is very important.
And then after you, what do you call, down reading a lot of stuff, after you got done co-founding a startup. So how does it all feel after seeing all that journey, all that vision manifest into reality? How does it feel that now you're at the apex of the startup system, being awarded the best startup by the Economics Times, if I'm not wrong, 2020? How does it feel after you look back at those days that, oh, I was in a similar situation where I was really doubtful of proceeding?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's a lot of luck. You don't realize something is working while you're completely engrossed in trying to make it work. I don't think I am at the point yet to be able to sit down and objectively look back without any kind of a bias and actually reflect upon the path or the journey that led us to wherever we have. Also, it's a very fickle thing. I mean, we might be the largest broker today, or we might be a great fund manager, or we might be doing a bunch of things right today, but we're always just two or three mistakes away from kind of going to scratch. uh, Most businesses are. So along the way, if there has been one lesson which has stood out, is always find people who are better, smarter, and more evolved than you. You will end up meeting people like that while you're starting a business. And it's very important to give them positions of power in your company, or positions where they are the final decision makers, to come to arrive at the point where that you're not the best person for every little job and someone else can do better. I think that's a great lesson from any entrepreneur's path.
So taking, what do you call, reaching out to people for their help instead of micromanaging stuff. That's what you lay emphasis on.
Yeah, more also that when you find somebody who has aligned with you along the way and is working with you, to kind of understand that that person might be better at doing your job than you are yourself, and allowing for him to do that, I think is very important.
That's very important, right? And then speaking of your hobby, speaking of your very passion of investing day in and day out, something that you really enjoy. Are you never tired of it?
Am I ever tired?
Yeah. Are you ever tired of it? Tired of it? Tired of it?
Uh, Tired of what though? Like the rat race in a way?
The game of numbers, game of numbers every single day, waking up
Not
to
really.
numbers, sleeping to numbers.
Not really. Not really. I think it's a privilege to have a job wherein every day is different. So in the markets, you never know what will happen tomorrow, and every day when you go into work, something absolutely arbitrary might happen. I think that is uh, kind of like that keeps you going more than anything. Unlike other jobs which can get very repetitive, this one I think is a lot more interesting. I'm not at that
So
point
it's not,
of it.
so it's not a part of the drudgery that day in and day out you're having to take similar kind of decisions. It's not a part of the drudgery yet.
Not at all. It's actually a good thing, I would say.
Fun experience, day in and day out, new experiences, new adventures.
Yeah, no, no. I quite like the whole stock market ecosystem and how unpredictable it is. So I enjoy the ups and downs and the unknowing in the stock markets, and kind of like look forward to it.
How do you make yourself adaptable enough to all the kind of questions that the stock market throws at you? How do you make yourself adaptable?
Well, you have to come to the realization that the markets know more than you, and You might have been right 99 out of 100 times, but the 100th time you might lose all that you gained over the previous 99 times. I think that humility kind of comes uh, with time and experience in the stock market. But uh, but it's a fun thing, yeah. I don't know how many of you guys will end up looking at making a career in the stock markets, but one thing I can promise you is it'll definitely be exciting, and it's a good industry which has plenty of room to grow based on how underpenetrated, like you were talking about earlier. Based on how underpenetrated it is right now, I think there'll be plenty of opportunities to grow in the future.
Yeah. So what do you envision as the end goal for Zerodha and True Beacon? What do you envision as the end product for them?
There is no end goal. It's a constantly evolving product, company, and what we want to do tomorrow will be completely different from what we wanted to do 6 months ago. So there is no end goal. It will continue to evolve, and it will continue to do new kind of things.
Any plans of voluntarily moving out of the company at a certain threshold?
Well, maybe nothing that I can think of right now, but no reason if there are better people doing what we are doing today that it shouldn't be considered.
Absolutely, absolutely. Just a very what do you call unconventional question from the entire course of the interview. I just had this curiosity of asking you: are you never moved by an existential crisis that you're making money day in and day out, like your company is doing really well, but are you never moved by that existential crisis? All the psychology and philosophy lays great emphasis on that. At the end of the day, it's all what do you call? You're all dust. You're all a civilization. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, well, I can take inspiration from some great thinkers who might have thought about this a bit more than I have. Uh, when you think about anything, be it, like it could be as noble as helping, homeless kids. Think of absolutely anything. You think about anything long enough, you can find a way to think about it to be meaningless. Uh, Life in its truest form has no meaning, or we don't understand what the meaning of life is. So then you have to ask yourself, do you want to spend your life trying to figure out the true meaning of things? Or would you rather focus this time on deceiving yourself into thinking things without meaning actually have meaning and being happy? And if I had to wager between the two, I would pick the path of being happy every time.
That's really convenient. That's a really convenient perspective to look at. They'll
Yeah.
always choose to be happy and being surprised. Yeah. And Nikhil, on a very general note, what would your advice be to all the people who are on the verge of actually discovering their passion, on the verge of actually exploring?
Yeah, keep a open mind. Don't get bogged down by peer pressure. Uh, at the end of the day, I mean, life because of the pandemic has kind of taught us how uncertain everything is. You don't need to be making more money than your classmates in 2 years, and you don't need to, popular or cooler or anything that might hold priority in one's mind today. I think take it easy, kind of don't fixate upon goals that have been born out of mass psychology, because everybody in your class might want a certain thing. It might not necessarily be the right thing for you. So take it easy in life. Figure out what you enjoy outside of work, career, and all the expectations that might be upon you from your parents and your siblings and your relatives and all of that. At the end of the day, I think what matters most is you do enjoy whatever path you take, and you do have many facets to your life, and it's not just education or college or your work life or whatever. Say take it easy, relax, think about many things, and don't fixate on that one, profession, money, college kind of thing.
being multidimensional helps at the end of the day.
Yeah.
That's a very
Yeah.
yeah. Over to you, Shreyanshi. You can take over from here. That was me with the questions.
I think there are no questions in queue. With that, we come to an end of our session. Thank you so much, sir, for sparing out your time for us. It was a very knowledgeable session. I hope being inspired from you, we all start looking towards stock market investments. And thanks to all the attendees for joining us.
Excuse me. Good evening, sir.
And
Good
there's a
evening,
question,
sir. I
please.
have a question. Sir,
Yeah,
can you
please.
hear me?
I can. Please go ahead.
Okay, sir. I have a very basic question. Talking about trading and long-term investing, which one is better?
Long-term investing.
Okay,
I
thank
would
you,
say
sir.
long-term investing. Thank you.
Okay, thanks to all the attendees for joining us for today. So until we meet for our next, stay safe and stay healthy. So
Thank you
you
so
may
much.
all can end the meeting. Thank you so much, sir.
Bye.